Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a little game called Voxelgram. Now, this is interesting. For those not aware of what is going on here, what this is, let me see. It's a type of puzzle called a nonogram, but this is a 3D version of it, and it's been popularized by a game called Picross, mostly on Nintendo. So there is actually a very good chance that you've never seen something like this before or have no idea. If you're a Sudoku enthusiast, it is the same sort of... It fires off the same parts of your brain, so if you happen to be the person that plays Sudoku habitually, unhealthily, and I'm showing this to you for the first time, well, I suppose you're welcome for a new version of the addiction. So yeah, Voxelgram is the name of this one. It's not doing anything particularly earth-shattering with this. It is ultimately a delivery system for more of this sort of 3D nonogram fun, basically. I thought I'd cover this because it did pop up. You know, I got offered the key because there is something to these puzzle games. Now, I'm not actually someone that really leans too hard towards addiction or anything like that. I play lots of video games and that, but, you know, being that I come from a military background, it's never really been that hard for me to put stuff down, like, you know, post overseas and never play games for 6 months or something like that. Like, so I don't really dance with addiction terribly much, but this type of puzzle, these sort of like that I know through Picross, is the closest thing that I'll ever get. It's dangerous. Well, I don't know if it's an addiction, actually. Think about it. It's not like I'm selling my life savings to play these or anything like that. But I find that, like, if you were to really audit what I've put the most time in video games in probably my life, I'm telling you, it's going to be like Picross games on a DS or a Switch or something that I'll be, you know, lying in bed listening to a podcast or whatever. So it's not really taking up my core time of gaming, but I play these things on my downtime, and I know I'm not the only person as well. I don't know if it's quite phenomena, but it's definitely pretty culturally big that a lot of people play these sort of things, or Sudokus or whatever. I've moved on. This is my crack, this sort of thing. I've moved on from Sudoku. That just doesn't give me the kick anymore. So in a way, I thought I would shine a light on this, because I usually I cover everything, obviously. This stands testament to that. Anything I can get my hands on and I think has value, I will cover and play, because I'm at my heart, I'm a gamer, and I stand by that. So I think you know, you owe almost all games a go. So yeah, this is definitely different. I usually don't do puzzle games. I don't like puzzle games, broadly speaking. And as I sort of think about it now, I kind of am. This is helping me understand why. So I have a very sort of STEM mind. I come from that field, even though here I am doing, you know, long form talking pieces on YouTube about feelings and art and all that sort of stuff. Even despite all that, I love an Excel spreadsheet. I live for that sort of behavior, right? Which probably explains why I love these logic. This is a logic puzzle ultimately, right? It gives you the rules and you behave by them. So quite often I really dislike puzzle games, because have a look at the sort of tentpole puzzle games that we've come across. Quite often they have their own sort of internal logic, some sort of weird humor that's just not that funny, and it's not true logic, you know. They construct a narrative. I love using the example from the old Curse of Monkey Island of, like, you have to get this guy's gold tooth for some stupid reason, but he's in a barber's chair and he won't move, so you have to give him, like, dodgy bubble gum, so he chews it and breaks his tooth, and he blows a bubble of bubble gum with his tooth in it that then floats up to the ceiling and out the chimney, and then you can. That's how you get it. To which I go, someone who enjoys logic and math, I look at that and go, that is the dumbest crap ever. And I think I had more of a tolerance for it when I was younger and in that era, and because the market sort of, like, I'm not trying to bash on Monkey Island after the fact, but I'm sort of saying that there was less to pick from then, so I suppose standards were different. You gotta be careful shining a light on things backwards through time. I don't begrudge it or anything like that, but I'm telling you now, if you release that sort of game today, I would lash it. I would have no time for it. But this is definitely more logic puzzle. So I haven't even really talked about it. I suppose I could explain it. It is self-explanatory. It is a scenario of like get in there with your hands and do it, and then you'll figure it out. But essentially, you're given this block, well, a block of blocks, right? And it's sort of almost, Edward Scissorhands, you carve your way through it, carving up a statue. On some rows, there'll be numbers. It could be 0, which indicates there's no green, or there's no actual blocks in there. So I suppose the blocks that I've never thought to actually explain this before. The blocks that you start with are sort of almost fog of war, and are telling you that there could or could not be a block along this line. Very similar to Minesweeper. Think Minesweeper, right? So there'll be a number, say there's a number 2, and what that indicates to you is that there are 2 blocks in there. And they're going to be side by side as well. They're going to be joined in a line sort of thing. So if it was 4, it'd be a line. Now, there are permutations on this rule as you go deeper in. You'll get like a little 3 to the power of 1 or something like that. And what that little 1 in the top right corner actually indicates, as far as I can tell in this iteration, because it could be different in different games, is that there is 1 gap in the sequence of 3 blocks. So if there are 3 green blocks in there, instead of them all being joined 1, 2, 3 together, it'll be some permutation of 2 gap 1. Now the gap could be larger than 1 square, but the point is that there's 1 gap in the sort of string of green blocks. So if you ended up having, say, what's an example? Well, you could have 3 to the 2, right? And what that is actually telling you is that you're going to have block, gap, gap, block, right? You're going to have 3 green blocks, but there are 2 gaps in the sequence. And in that particular example, there's only one way it could go. I mean, the gaps could be big. The gaps could be 2 or 3 blocks long, but, and you can then use that. You can go, all right, well, this means that none of the 3 blocks will be touching. And if you can go to the next level of sort of logic strategy, that if it shows you 4 white blocks in this scenario that I'm giving you, and well, let's say 5 white blocks. Actually, you know what? No, because that's too obvious an example. Let's say you have 4 white blocks in a row, and on the end it says 3 to the 1, right? What you can intuit from that is that the end cap blocks on either end of that run are going to be solid. They're going to be green. You don't necessarily know where the gap is in there, but according to that line, there's 4 potential spots, and the thing is telling you that 3 of them are green, and there is a gap in there, right? So you know for a fact, because the gap has to be at least 1, you know for a fact that the end cap blocks are green. Now, if it was 3 to the 1, but it was a 5 length, that wouldn't actually work, because you don't know whether the gap is 1 or 2. Anyway, just to give you an idea that there's actually a lot of depth. You have a look at this and you might not think so. So this game, I mean, I don't think this dev has really done much before. There seems to be sort of like in the level select, as you unlock these little sculptures, they represent some sort of shape vaguely, and then they go into like a garden bed sort of, it's sort of constructing to this diorama in the level select screen. It's a nice touch, but ultimately, it's just window dressing. If you're here for this puzzle type, you probably know exactly what you're getting yourself into. The difficulty spiked pretty quickly. I was surprised. In the second world, I started getting onto ones that you had to spend a little bit of time carving. It does have the feature that you've seen in the, I think it was the DS version of the 3D Picross, where you can sort of go into the rows as well. So you don't have to just look at the whole thing as a full 3D model. You can scroll through rows in all 3 dimensions. Look, if this is all sounding a little bit overwhelming, and you're not really getting a full grasp of it, just know this. It's a strong puzzle game, stronger than Sudoku. If you absolutely hate Sudoku, then this is an easy pass, right? If you like Sudoku, which is funny because I don't really like Sudoku anymore because I know about these things, Picross type games. But if you like Sudoku, I would say immediately pick one of these up. This one will do. It's very cute and it's on PC and it's quite accessible. You don't need a DS or anything like that to play it, or a Switch. There's one on Switch that I play, but it's not 3D. Traditionally, they're only 2D, actually. So I would suggest, if your brain leans towards logic puzzles and you somehow haven't heard of this, I may have just given you the greatest gift of all time. Because seriously, having these in your life, if your brain craves it, is actually really phenomenal. So, look, I've ranted a little bit here about how much I like these things, but, it's a bit of a peek behind the curtain because, truly, when I'm not making videos or playing games for videos on the channel and just generally doing that sort of thing, if you really, truly ask me what I play for fun off camera, it's going to be stuff like this. Or like Oxygen Not Included, some sort of colony builder, hyper engineering thing, and I'll have my, synthwave blasting on Spotify. As much as, I love getting into a good game and a narrative, but unless it's top tier, unless it can absolutely grab me and make me unplug from the world, quite often I fall back on, well, I suppose you could just call them time wasters. I don't mean to be mean, but that's sort of what they are, if you have a bit of a think about it. Anyway, check it out. This will be for you or not for you. I know that's a very strange thing to say, but it's almost objective, right? There's no way that there will be some sort of, oh yeah, maybe if you like this, maybe if you like... No, it's very cut and dry. There are people who have brains that want this sort of stuff injected into your skull, and there are people who have brains that say, no, I'd rather shoot myself in the head than play something like this. So, hopefully I've helped you out if this is something you're interested in. Alright team, we might just leave it there, and I will catch you guys on the next one.